Welcome back. My name is Amelia, and today I'm going to test 3 New York Times chefs' pumpkin bread recipes. I want to find the best one of the season. The 3 chefs I'm testing are Claire Saffitz, Melissa Clark, and Molly Vaz. So those are both really talented chefs, and I know they all have great recipes, but I want to find the best one so you guys don't have to. The first recipe I'm starting with is Claire Saffitz. Her pumpkin bread recipe is pumpkin bread with a black cocoa streusel. So it's orange and black, which is kind of fun, very Halloween-y. The first thing that it has you start with is this black streusel. So that calls for a coarse sugar, and then she also calls for black cocoa powder, which is cocoa powder, a darker cocoa powder. I had to order this on Amazon, which was unfortunate, but this is just regular cocoa powder. It's just darker. So you can use it in place of your other cocoa powders too. I'm gonna chop up our pumpkin seeds, just roughly chop. And a little hack with pumpkin seeds, I recommend not buying them at the store, like a local grocery store, because they're always more expensive. Buy them on Amazon. They're so much cheaper on Amazon. I love making Claire's recipes because she is a very extensive recipe developer and her writing is very thorough. So they're kind of hard to mess up because she's so specific in her recipes. My pumpkin seeds are all chopped up. I'm gonna put everything into this bowl. So we got a coarse sugar, Demerara sugar, that's what it's called. It's just a coarse, like, turbinado sugar type deal. So nuts, salt. Then we have our black cocoa powder. And flour. I'm gonna give this a good mix with my hands. I probably should get a bigger bowl, but whatever. We're gonna make this work. Now I'm gonna start incorporating the butter slowly. Actually, screw it. All of the butter in with the black stuff. Now I'm just gonna work this in slowly. This is gonna take me a second. But you want it to resemble like wet sand. That's the goal when you're making a streusel. You want it to be wet and sandy. Okay, I had to result to a bigger bowl because that little bowl just was not cutting it. But this is the texture you want. And it kind of smells like Oreo crumbs, so that's a good sign. I'm just gonna put this back into the smaller bowl. You guys can kind of see it better. But this is fun. I already like this recipe. Does make your hands a little messy, but. Now let's start with the wet ingredients. I'm going to do our sugar. Then it calls for a neutral oil, and she recommended avocado oil, so I'm gonna do avocado oil. Then our eggs. Also, ignore my fingernails. They are now black from that black cocoa powder. It's not dirt. I wash my hands, you guys, I swear. And now our pumpkin puree. Now I'm gonna give it a good mix. So pretty. Now it calls for maple syrup and some vanilla, so I'm gonna put that in. Another mix. Now for the dry, I got our salt, flour, and baking powder. I think it's powder. Baking powder into the bowl. And then, this is a fun part of her recipe. She calls for turmeric because it brings out the orange color a little bit better in the base. So, turmeric, ground cloves, and ground ginger into the bowl. Fold it in. I'm gonna have so much pumpkin bread after this. I'm just realizing that. It smells spicy. Now I got my little bread pan that I'm just gonna spray with some olive oil. I got this thing on Amazon. I love it. I always have a hard time with the avocado oil spray. The sprayer thing always breaks, so I bought this on Amazon and it's really nice. And you can pick what oil you put in it. So right now I have olive oil in it. Just give it a good spray. But I'm also gonna put some parchment paper down because I do want to take it out of the pan when it's done. Pour the batter in. Okay. Now we gotta taste the batter just to make sure it doesn't taste bad. Tastes great. To top it with the black cocoa crumbs. So I'm just gonna sprinkle it all on the top. Oh, so cute. So cute. I feel like she's already winning with creativity. So cute. We're gonna transfer this to the oven. Just gonna go in for 45 minutes. It's so cute. Okay, bye little bread. Now we're moving on to Melissa Clark's pumpkin bread recipe. Her recipe makes 2 smaller loaves, and it also calls for bourbon. So hers is a pumpkin bread with brown butter and bourbon. We gotta brown the butter first. So let's go over to the stove and brown the butter. Our whole stick of butter into the pot. Okay, the butter is brown. You see it's a nice golden. That's exactly what you want. Okay. Let's transfer our brown butter to our bowl. I love the smell of brown butter. It smells like toffee. It calls for a lot of sugar because it makes 2 loaves, so just be aware of that. Whisk this in. Our olive oil. Our eggs, it calls for 4 eggs. Let's see if I can crack it with one hand. This never ends well. Ooh. Yay! This is a very Melissa Clark recipe. The brown butter, the bourbon. It kind of reminds me of her brown butter bourbon pecan pie a little bit. Eggs are all whisked in, and it calls for a whole can of pumpkin. So I'm gonna put this whole can in. Very pretty. It calls for a whole tablespoon of vanilla. Now we're gonna add our bourbon. It's very strong smell. Smells like the rodeo. Oh, it's so strong. Dad, you're gonna like this one, Dad. Holy shit.
Smells like the rodeo.
It does. It smells like men now.
It smells like a card game. A bunch of cowboys.
Now let's do our dry ingredients. I have our flour, baking powder, salt, all of it, cinnamon, ginger, and cardamom. Smells good now. Okay, now that it has spices in it, it's not as alcohol-y. I hope this doesn't make me drunk. Just kidding. It bakes out. For all the people that don't drink, it bakes out. It smells great now. Let's taste test the batter. That's really good. Alcohol is such a good flavor with the brown butter. Huh. I'm gonna spray our pans. I freaking love this thing. So awesome. Okay, now let's be as graceful as possible pouring these in. Okay, these are gonna go in the oven. Thank goodness I have 2 ovens. What a luxury. I've actually never used this oven before because it's always my warming oven, but whoop, first time. Okay, 50 minutes. We wait now. Claire's bread is done. Let's take it out. It looks so pretty. It is so funky. I love it. One of the funkiest breads I've ever made. So here it is. Very Halloween-y. It's time to make Molly Boz's recipe. This is the last recipe I'm making today, so I'm very excited. She's an awesome recipe developer as well. So we're gonna start with our wet ingredients like we did before. I'm gonna do our sugar, olive oil. Her recipe calls for olive oil. I feel like a lot of her baking recipes call for olive oil, and I love it because it gives a great flavor. Now her recipe calls for a whole can of pumpkin as well, so we're gonna put this whole can in. I would love to go to a pumpkin puree factory and see how they did that. That would be so interesting. I also want to go to Costco when they're making all the pumpkin pies for Thanksgiving. I think that'd be fun. Watch them how they do that. Okay, stir the pumpkin in. So her recipe calls for fresh ginger, so I'm going to be grating it. And I say this in every video, but you don't have to get the skin off of your ginger. You can eat it. So I'm just gonna grate the ginger just like how it is. This recipe calls for fresh grated nutmeg, so I have my nutmeg pods. And I get all my spices from Oaktown Spice Shop online. And I think that makes a huge difference in my recipes. And that's what all these other recipe developers use too. They all use Oaktown Spice Shop. So it's gonna grate our nutmeg. This is fun. Cloves, cinnamon and ground cloves. And our flour and salt. And now let's fold. Okay, now let's put our batter into the pan. Our last batter pour. I know you guys are so sad. Oh, we gotta taste the batter. Yum. That was very olive oily. Love that. You can taste the fresh ginger and the fresh nutmeg. Smooth it out. And this one's fun. It has quite a bit of pumpkin seeds on the top. Raw pumpkin seeds. Last step is to sprinkle sugar on top of the pumpkin seeds. Now we're ready to stick this in the oven. So let's go over. And this is gonna bake for another 50 minutes. So let's stick it in. Very pretty, very cute. Okay, sayonara. Okay, let's take Melissa's breads out. They look great. They puffed up perfectly. So cute. Very happy with that. Time to take Claire's bread out. It's been cooling for a while. Ooh, comes out great. That was really easy. Cute! You can see the layers. There's that orange layer on the bottom and then the black on top. That came out great. You want to rip that off real quick, Dad? Thank you very much.
Cameraman's work is never done.
Yeah, I know. Now we wait for the other breads to finish cooking, but that looks great. I'm very happy with that. Molly's recipe has a fun little maple salted pumpkin butter with it. So I'm just gonna food process that right now while it's baking. I'm gonna break this up so it fits in my tiny little food processor. Some maple syrup. Flaky sea salt. And now I'm just gonna food process it. Just press down. Perfect. Okay, done. Okay, Molly's bread is done. It looks fabulous. I think I may have overdone it with the sugar. I'm just gonna be really careful. Cute. Time for the fun part. It's finally time to taste them. We're gonna start with Claire's. Let's cut into it. Ooh, cute. Love how that turned out. That one was so fun. So let's try it. This one is not overly sweet at all. You can taste the turmeric. This is great. Yeah, great. Tastes like pumpkin bread. The streusel part doesn't really taste like chocolate or anything, surprisingly. It's more savory in a way. That is so good, the top. Perfect balance of salty. Now it's time to taste Melissa's pumpkin bread. Let's just cut into it. Honestly, it could get away with just taking this out of the thing. Okay, moment of truth. This one is soft. You can taste the brown butter. You can taste the bourbon, but it's not strong at all. This is like a classic pumpkin bread. Claire's bread was like a showstopper, but it wasn't very family friendly. Hers has a more mature taste with the turmeric and stuff. It's still really good, but this tastes like classic pumpkin bread. Very good. Now it's time to taste Molly's. I have a feeling this one's gonna be my favorite just because when I tasted the batter, it tasted like what I expected a pumpkin batter to taste like. It was very sweet. Yeah, and then it has all this sugar on top and nuts. I just think that it's really hard to go wrong. It did just come out of the oven though, so it's gonna be very, very soft. It's soft, that's why it's falling apart. It needs to cool, but I'm impatient. I have her maple butter right here that I made earlier. I'm gonna do a slab of that. Yeah, this is delicious. I'm getting full. This one is salty, sweet, tastes like, you can taste the olive oil, taste the ginger. This is what pumpkin bread is supposed to taste like. This is I think is the winner. I think children will love this, adults will love this. So I think that tells us Molly Boz, her pumpkin bread is the one you should make this season. So there you go. Now you don't have to do all the recipe testing.